for it, ma'am. And they go back over there and do the time, because that's where they did the crime at. And they left her there, ma'am. They left her in that house, ma'am. They left her there for the maids to find her. Don't you know how much of pain my daughter suffered for the injuries, that she took? She was smaller frame, ma'am. For them to sit there and try to get her no help or nothing. I just want justice, ma'am.
For a lot of people, it's a wonder that the authorities still haven't been able to pin anyone down for the death of Shanquella Robinson. And while all eyes and fingers seem to be pointing at her friends from the trip, a new update has just revealed that they might actually not have been directly responsible for her death. I know what you're thinking. This is a wild goose chase, but the thing is that there's actually evidence and specific time frames that back up these claims about the Cabo 6 not being fully responsible. And what makes this news even more convincing is the fact that the update seems to have exposed the Mexican government for enabling some less than ideal dealings in the medical sector of the country, which might have had a hand in her death. I can tell you're already interested in this new update, so stay tuned till the end of the video so you don't miss any part of it. Okay, so I know it sounds a little far-fetched to bring in an entire government into the murder case of one person, but the thing is that it adds up to the Mexican government in this case, and it's not even a direct effect of the government. It's just something that's been known to happen in the country. You see, according to the new update that's come up about the events that led up to Shanquella getting murdered, there was apparently some foul play involved in getting her medical help. Per the original story, authorities found Robinson dead in the living room of her vacation rental in San Jose del Cabo on October 29. According to an autopsy report, but initial local police reports offer different timelines on what happened that day. A guest allegedly alerted medical staff at the resort where Robinson was staying that the victim had drunk a lot of alcohol around 2 p.m. that day, according to a local police report obtained by ABC News. A doctor advised that Robinson be transferred to a hospital due to dehydration, but none of her friends did so. She later died of cardiac arrest, the police report says. However, the friends that were with her at the time have revealed that things didn't go down as smoothly as it was described on the police report. According to the details of what actually happened after the doctor was called, it seems it wasn't that they refused to take her to the hospital. It was more like they couldn't really afford the medical costs that would have been involved. Specifically, according to the report, it is believed that medical aid for Shanquella was summoned at 2:13 p.m. on October 29 to the villa by her friends. And after an hour of placing the call was when Dr. Gutierrez from the American Medical Center, a local hospital in the area, arrived to assist Robinson. Upon arrival, Gutierrez was told by others at the house that Robinson had drunk a lot of alcohol, which prompted him to then give Robinson an IV. Said report then goes on to describe the doctor's diagnosis of Robinson at the time of his arrival, which revealed that Robinson had stable vital signs but was dehydrated, unable to communicate verbally, and appeared to be inebriated. This was the point where the doctor recommended that she be taken to a hospital immediately, but the Cabo 6 have revealed that there was a clause to that recommendation. According to them, Gutierrez had told them that it would cost them as high as $5,000, and considering they were staying at an expensive villa, coupled with the fact that Americans on vacation are known to have money, extortion was the next line of action. And that single fact was one of the things that damned Robinson for dead. However, what makes this an even more elaborate scheme is that it's a thing that's been happening to several Americans whenever they go to Mexico for a while now. In fact, there have been so many reports about this type of extortion that the American government didn't only become aware of it, but they actually issued a warning to citizens traveling to Mexico, warning them about this exact type of extortion. But the warning from the US government wasn't just about Americans getting extorted in Mexico in general. It was a warning about a specific hospital that made this into its day-to-day. And guess what hospital that was exactly? Yep, the very same one that Shanquella was supposed to be taken to. Per the report from the US government, multiple complaints have been filed by US citizens saying the hospital demanded tens of thousands of dollars in advance payments, threatened patients' relatives, and refused to release clinical reports on what care they had actually provided. That led the US consulate in Tijuana to issue the unusual health alert about St. Luke's business practices. US citizens have reported instances of withholding care for payment, failing to provide itemized lists of charges, ordering unnecessary procedures, withholding passports, obstructing medical evacuations, and refusing to discharge patients without payment, the consulate said in the alert. And even though issuing this warning about a particular hospital already proves the depth of the problems Americans face in Mexico, they also added that the scam goes far beyond just deciding to not go to a particular hospital. According to the revelation from the consulate, there is some evidence that St. Luke's pays or otherwise compensates ambulances and hotels to send American patients there. The consulate wrote, "Please be advised that hotels and resorts in the Los Cabos area may have existing contracts or informal relationships with St. Luke's." That was an apparent reference to reports in local media that the hospital pays ambulance drivers to channel American patients to St. Luke's. This is what has now led to the prevailing theory that the Cabo 6 might not be at fault, but that the Mexican government might have also facilitated Robinson's death through these hospitals. And it seems the FBI also agrees with this theory, talking about how the investigation might be coming. Former FBI Assistant Director Swecker said, "In extraterritorial cases, particularly involving the Mexican government, which is really hit or miss when you deal with the prosecutors and the federal police down there and the judicial police down there. They're hit or miss in terms of their competence, number one, number two, and their motivation to actually get moving on the case. So we have to get the evidence in our hands before we can actually introduce the evidence into U.S. courts. That's all done by treaty, and that's ribbons and bows and formal papers requests that go back and forth, back and forth. It's a painstaking, laborious, bureaucratic process, and in Mexico, it's even more so." However, the expert also hinted that the Cabo 6 might not be completely off the hook because not only did video evidence of them seemingly attacking Shanquella go viral, but there's also the fact that they lied to the doctor about how she became unconscious before his arrival. In Swecker's words, "You got the video. Obviously, you can obtain stored text data, stored email data. People tend to be careless at the moment. And then they'll text each other back and forth about what happened or after the fact, sort of try to get their story together, that sort of thing. So I'm pretty sure the FBI is looking at the electronic evidence very closely. They're interviewing people. I call it interviewing because if you're not under arrest, it's not an interrogation. If you will, it's an interview. You don't have the right to counsel. You can get up and leave anytime you want. So I'm sure they have already interviewed everybody if they haven't lawyered up. So they've gathered as much of the evidence as they can. I believe, at this point, that can be gathered in the United States. To round things up, Swecker revealed that as the investigation is entering its 2-month mark, it's important to keep the pressure on the Mexican government so that answers can come out. Specifically, he said, "When you apply pressure and you pressure the government and you almost embarrass the government, then they get moving." Anyway, this whole thing has started a lot of conversations on the internet, particularly regarding this new update about how her friends might not have been largely responsible for her death. However, a lot of people still seem to believe the Cabo 6 are to be held accountable, and many of them have been giving pretty convincing arguments to back their points. Like this user who wrote, "Why didn't the ambulance transport Shanquella Robinson to the hospital when they arrived and seen she was unresponsive? The story just don't add up, and we probably will never really know what happened." Hopefully, we'll get the answer to these questions in time. But until then, we wait. That's it for this video. Goodbye.